In this show, we're joined by Ed Lu, astronaut, pioneer engineer, and potentially future saviour of planet Earth. We hear about his experiences of the rescue mission to the International Space Station following the tragic loss of Space Shuttle Columbia, his time at Google, and his mission to save Earth from an asteroid collision. Ed embodies leadership to his core in the most inspiring way. Can we talk about one or two of the stories of projects that you led, some of the things that you did there that you're particularly proud of?
Yeah, one of the things that we did was the imaging systems for Street View. The reason we did Street View basically was to not only provide those images as a feature on Google Maps, but actually to build our own maps, because that would allow us to no longer have to pay for licensing other people's maps of the streets. And knowing where the streets are is only part of the battle of building a map. Where the streets are is easy. It's where the houses are. It's where the street signs are. It's where there's one-way street. It's where there's a right-hand turn only or a left-hand turn only. It's where the house and business numbers are, and those are always changing. And so in order to really build a map in which you could give turn-by-turn directions, you actually need to know where everything is. So there's two ways of doing that. You can either send people going around looking for there's no standard location that you put the number on a house, right? There's no standard location you put the number on a building. There's no standard location for putting signage, right? So our solution was, well, if we're going to drive these cars everywhere, so automatically take these pictures and allow the people in the field aren't out there writing down where the number is, where that house is, where the turn lane is. They're just driving a car, and it's taking images in all directions, and we'll gather all this enormous amount of data, and we'll figure it out back in the back end, if you'd like. And so we had a goal to get off of these data sets that we were licensing at an enormous expense, and so we set the goal of, hey, and when I walked in the door, I was informed that 6 months later we wanted to be driving, the first 100 cars using, our own homegrown system of a set of cameras pointing in all directions. Like, where were we? Like, well, we haven't started yet. Essentially, there was a commercial solution that they had, which a little set of cameras, but it just wasn't up to the job, because if you think about it, at any given time, if you're outside during the day, one of your cameras is pointed towards the sun. And if you have a sign, with the sun in the background, you won't see it, at least not with most cameras. And so we had to design something that was much, much better, much higher resolution. And so we designed and built our own lenses, our own cameras, our own electronics, the mechanical parts that set it on top of a car. And we had to make this thing simple enough to drive, and then we had to buy hundreds of cars and put these things on top, put the data logging systems in, and actually 6 months later we had the first 100 cars out on the road.
That's incredible.
There are thousands and thousands of cars. You've probably seen ones drive by on occasion.
Oh, I remember when they were first happening. I had no idea what was going on when I saw the vans go by with all the cameras on them. Yep,
exactly. And they were Chevy Cruzes, if I remember right, the first batch of 100. But
you had to build your own GPS system, is that right?
Yeah, we did. Because if you use GPS and somebody else's database, they can claim that their intellectual property, their database, was used in the making of your database, and therefore it's partially theirs. So we built everything.
How many people did you have to do this?
Our camera system basically had sort of like 7 full-time people, and a couple of other people who were in and out helping on, building test setups or things like that. But 7 full-timers. So,
7 people in 6 months.
Yes.
To build one of the world's most disruptive products.
It was an awesome time.
So I can see why you'd be proud of that.
We hope you're enjoying the Evolving Leader shorts that we're releasing before we start Season 7 in September. You can find the rest of this conversation and all of the Evolving Leader episodes on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and your favourite podcast outlet. I'll also put a link in the show notes.